Everybody, welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. I am your host, Mr. Kurt Wuckert Jr., broadcasting live from South Florida. My voice is not all the way back. You probably hear that I sound only about 98% as great as I usually sound, rather than my typical 103%, which is it doesn't mean anything. I can already feel all the conspiracy theory people are like, what's good? Kurt's got a black eye, man. That's the Illuminati. They put the bug in his eye. But so it's one of those days, everybody. No, I was super sick. Not even like ill. I didn't feel ill, but my voice was completely gone last week. I just like up in my lungs and in my throat, and I had a sore throat for 5 days straight. And I feel quite a bit better, but not, as you probably can hear, I do not sound like the typical sultry, smooth Kurt. However, being ill does allow me to speak a little more deeply, which is probably good for me to record bumpers and reels and all kinds of fun stuff. So everybody, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. If you are watching live, please do not forget to like, subscribe, hit the alert bell, and let our algorithmic overlords know that you want to consume my content more than you want to consume anything else in the entire universe. You may have noticed the branding here is a little different. Where's the logo? Right here. See the CoinGeek logo is lightly updated. The live stream has its own new fancy logo. I'm going to have to get rid of what is now the old CoinGeek logo floating over my shoulder because the company is going through a big rebranding. And if you go ask the crazy people, it'll be like, well, here's what's actually going on. Calvin is a Rothschild. Okay, here's this chart that explains how he's the third cousin of David Rothschild. You can follow it all the way back to Belgium and Scotland, and here's what's going on at CoinGeek, and this is why all the writers are fake. So it's no, actually, it's just a light rebranding because the people that are involved in CoinGeek are really excited to see CoinGeek grow. So if you're one of those people watching the show live, thank you kindly for spending your hour with me. I do these shows live because I like to have a little bit of that interaction with you, my friends. So please put your questions, comments, blessings, cursings, grapes, gripes, or gropes in the troll box. Especially if you are excited to meet Gavin Mehl. That's right. I think that's probably how it's pronounced. It's a German name. I'm largely guessing. Maybe it's Kurt, it's Prussian, but no, it's Gavin Mehl. Not to be confused with Sigma Male or any of the alpha males out there, but we got Gavin Mehl walking around with his six-pack abs and showing people how the world works. So we're going to have him on in a couple of minutes here. We're going to talk a whole lot about what's going on in the Bitcoin space, and I mean the broader Bitcoin space. He has some announcements he'd like to make because he's friends with some very interesting people, and I think it's going to be a pretty good show. So please stay tuned in that regard. I do want to address because I know people are going to ask. I got kicked in the face last night at jiu-jitsu. I was rolling with my friend. He goes by Ninja, and it was basically we just got into too much of a scramble, and I ate it pretty hard in the eye socket. So we kept going. He can vouch for me any way he likes, but it's one of those things that happens. I also occasionally get my teeth chipped out. So every once in a while, I come onto the show looking like I've been in a brawl because I get into brawls for a few days a week for fun. Okay, so we are going to have to thank some of our sponsors. Oh, also click the what's it called? my profile on X. If you check my pinned post, I wrote an open letter to Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web. He has a project out called the Solid Project, which is a concept built around decentralizing the internet, which, if you're familiar with my content, you'll know is something that I care quite a bit about. And so I give some suggestions into ways that you can make Solid work a little more solidly, and maybe some ways we could even work together. So if I could be introduced to Tim Berners-Lee and talk about the future of the internet, that would be a really good time, I'm sure. But please click the article. I would appreciate it if you click the Tonic Pal link. It makes my life just a little bit better every time you click it, and then we'll have a good time. And then I want to thank our sponsors. We got Rock Wallet has been so kind to sponsor the show throughout the rest of the year, if I recall. But I don't know. I didn't look at the contract. I'm not a lawyer, so maybe we can have somebody like telling me, Kurt, please shut up about all that. Yeah, no, Rock Wallet is been great, actually. They've been a fantastic sponsor of the show. We really appreciate them. And then we also have the Champions TCG folks who have been so kind to give away one deck of cards to the person who gives us the comment of the day. So if you are one of those people who would like to give a really, really juicy comment, you can win a pack. And that pack can be either really, really special, or it could just be a bunch of comments, but we don't really know until you get them. But that's a gift from the Champions TCG folks, who we are very grateful for. So thank you guys for the sponsorship of the show. I am going to clear my throat just a little bit here. We are going to cut to an ad, and we will be right back with Mr. Gavin Mehl. Whoop, where's the video? Come on, tech.
Come on.
We can do it.
No
I
video?
hear you, Gavin. Let's come back. Let's bring them back. Come on. Is this a StreamYard problem? Come on, StreamYard. Everybody has a plan until they get kicked in the face. This is a really good example of that, actually. So let's try. Now I see you. Do I hear you?
Testing over.
Hey,
comment.
there we go. Perfect, man. Delightful, classy blue jacket, pocket square. That's, man, you got this figured out. I'm here in a t-shirt. So
yeah, you know, compliments Jimmy Stewart. Did you ever see that movie Vertigo? You know, that he had. That's where I got this idea from. So
I love it.
Stole this one from him. And just missing the little tie. I used to wear actually one of those collar bars. When I was literally in college, I'd go to like the formal parties, and I'd wear a collar bar in my tie, compliments of Jimmy Stewart.
That's awesome. Gavin, so you and I have known each other, I think we met in Dubai, if I recall, which is three years ago-ish. Maybe a touch more. My goodness, it's been too long, frankly. But you're a Bitcoin guy. You are from San Francisco, or at least you live in San Francisco. I don't know if that's where you're from. I don't know a whole lot about you or your past. There's a lot of conspiracies out there that you're one of the major puppet string pullers out in the universe. Gavin, can you tell us just a little bit about you? Who is Gavin? And yeah, how do you say the last? Is it Mehl?
No,
is it Mehl?
Gavin Mehl or Gavin Gregory. Gavin Gregory is my given name. Gavin Mehl is my legal name. And so, I am born in San Francisco, so Californian. True and true, flooded, a San Franciscan. I grew up in the Valley in Sacramento, went to school which is east of San Francisco. And, I was a baseball player my whole life. I was an athlete, a baseball player and swimmer, and just, I was going to be in the big leagues one day. That was my vision, and played a little bit of baseball in the college. And then I stopped doing that, and I joined a fraternity, and so I went to Sac State, and I went, down, everything was downhill from there. So, it was like, oh my gosh, everything changed. No, I really, the fraternity changed my life. Delta Chi, I owe a lot of credit to them. They helped me grow as a man, and become from a boy to a man. So definitely hats off to them. That's
when you joined the secret society for the first time.
That was definitely when I joined, pledged my soul to the secret society. It was one of those moments, you got to do that. During college, I worked at Macy's selling furniture. The whole time in college, working full time, I worked blood, sweat, and tears. 40 hours a week, and did school full time and the fraternity. So I was busy as heck. Yeah. Then after that, I had a lot of sales. I knew I was going to get into sales. So it's always my vision. My dad was into sales, and, I always like sales was it. So I got a sales job at a company called AmeriQuest right out of college, and, rose the ranks to the top of the company in sales for that, set, all sorts of records, and did that for about 3 years, went into management, and then started a business similar, which is mortgage industry. And I had a big office downtown Sacramento in a high-rise building, about 100 people at the peak. And it was, we all were just cruising along. And then one day we got news saying that they couldn't fund loans anymore in 2008. 2007-ish, they literally stopped. We went from just doing all sorts of business to then zero the next month and closing down. So it was a big shock in how, you know, I realized like, I got to freaking wake up. Like I should have been paying attention to this. How did I not see this coming? You know?
Yeah.
So that happened. And then, yeah, I became an entrepreneur after that. I stayed an entrepreneur, then got into online marketing. I started learning from some mentors that I had at that time on I saying, you got to get online, you got to make videos, you got to put your brand out there. So I started just doing that, not really just like, screw it, I'm going to do it. I followed Napoleon Hill, his teachings extensively. And I believed in the habit of initiative, which is like doing the thing that ought to be done before anyone tells you to do it. So I just started doing it. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. And, I started making content online and I stuck with it. And, it's just the habit of sticking with something that you end up, having success. I mean, ultimately, it's like the habit of persistence. You're persistent about something long enough, you get success with it. So I just kept after it. And then after, I don't know how many years it's been now, I've built a small audience in the way of content creation. And so it's, but something I love. It's like, I think it's more of a life project, more of like a lesson to myself than anything else. Sure. I learned so much and I've grown so much by doing it. And then regarding Bitcoin, it was, I heard about the crypto market pretty early, but of course, like everybody else, I made all sorts of mistakes. And I thought that there was going to be a different Bitcoin project. And I invested money into a project in like, I don't remember the name of it at the time, but it turned out to be no good. And they're not even around anymore. And so that was my first experience. I thought I was too late to Bitcoin. I think it was only like $700 at that time. I didn't buy it. So I thought it's one of those things like, oh man, well, but it's okay. I don't look back in any way. It's a learning lesson. So then a few years later, a friend of mine told me about Ethereum. And, he showed me how to use Ethereum. He sat me down. He's like, you need to learn this. And so he showed me it. And I started buying the ICOs. And I had some success and some losses on the ICOs in that early days of Ethereum. And, that led me on to researching more about Bitcoin. And I saw the fork happening. Actually, I was watching, being from San Francisco, a guy called Ryan Charles was doing videos at that time about it. And I watched all his vlogs that he was putting out, and they were just fascinating to me about how the fork was going on. And I'm like, wow, this really sounds interesting. It was that and the Roger Ver stuff. And I didn't really hear much about Craig or anything or anybody like that at that time, but I started, getting really interested in Bitcoin Cash. And then I really just kind of, I just went off the grid after that. I was like, all right, I'm done. I like Bitcoin Cash. I was like, I like the ICOs I had been involved in, but I wasn't involved in like BSV in the beginning or any of that. So I didn't see any of that happening. I was busy doing my own thing. And that was like learning the law and teaching myself from, the books, and built a law library and just teaching myself how the courts worked and learning from mentors on that. And then, it wasn't until I think I went to Dubai. It was actually what really changed things for me was this. Well, I mean, I was watching your content, Kurt, hats off to you on the CoinGeek channel. I was keeping an eye on it. I saw the Jack Pitts interviews. And I'm like, this BSV really, it might be something, that's what they're talking about. But it was actually when I went and read the Satoshi Affairs, and I decided that I said, I got to find out more about who these people are. And when I read the Satoshi Affairs, I saw Jimmy Wynn's name in there as an attorney. So I searched him, and then I saw, wow, okay, he's on X. Oh, wow, he's a CEO of a company. He's going to be in Silicon Valley. Yep. So I booked a trip. I booked an event with him in Silicon Valley that he came out to speak at. And it was at that event that I sat down next to him, and, we were talking. I was like, learning more about it. He's like, you got to meet somebody who he believed at the time was the most important man in Bitcoin. That's what he called him. And, I'm like, who? And he's like, this guy over here, this guy named Xiaowei Liu. I'm like, who? And I was like, so I was like, okay. So Jimmy left, and I started talking with Xiaowei Liu, and I'm like, what's this all about? And he convinced me to go to Dubai. Like shortly thereafter, it's like flat. I'm like, okay, why not? Let's do it. I'll really feel this whole thing out. And so it was that Dubai conference I met you, and then I started learning about who's who in the space. So it's really an honor to be here, Kurt. There's my 5-minute introduction. So
I love it, man. It's a good story. Well, and I think a lot of parallels me a little bit. Content creation is one of those things that I think no matter what else you do, if you want to be an entrepreneur of any stripe or a good salesman, like you need to be making content. Your business card should not be something you carry in your pocket. It should be the like, hey, I saw your interview. Even if they've only seen like 1 or 2 of your videos, that is the best way to open any door. Be like, oh, hey, you know, when I tell people, yeah, I've had Peter Schiff on my show. Oh, really? You know, and like, then all of a sudden it's, oh, okay. Like people, for whatever reason, that connection that you get from having a genuine conversation, first of all, is super humanizing, but it also, people get this weird celebrity thing about, you know, it's what do I get? A few hundred viewers of my show live. And then, you know, a good show, I might get 15,000 views over the course of a week or two. And like, but there are people who come across, they're like, oh, wow, you're Kurt from the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. And I was just like, is that a big deal? It doesn't feel like a huge deal to me, but there are people that take it really seriously. And so I think content creation is really key, especially nowadays, because you know, our relationships allow, you know, a guy like me and you, we live probably 2,000 miles away from each other, but we can communicate over this crazy medium. Did you freeze? Are you still there?
I'm frozen. How do I
your video is frozen. You sound okay. We're gonna bring you back. Let's bring him back, Mr. Vidal, if possible.
All right, should be good now.
There we go. All right, beautiful. But no, so anyways, I think it's really cool that you make the content. I actually started making fitness content myself many years ago. I had an Instagram account for jiu-jitsu. I started it when I was a blue belt, and I was going to document my jiu-jitsu journey. So that would have been, oh gosh, 2012, 13. And I noticed that when I looked at, like, I looked into you a little bit a couple months ago. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Gavin. What's Gavin up to? And I saw you've got like old fitness content. It's like, oh, this is great, because I think so many people, I don't know, they don't understand. There are a few key things that people really genuinely don't understand in the world, and it's business, like government systems and taxes and that kind of stuff. So if you can explain business or government stuff to them, it's interesting. And then fitness, like diet and fitness content, is super elusive, because you know what are the numbers? It's like 75% of people in the country are obese, and like, you know, and so to give them fitness content is like, oh wow, this is fascinating. So I think that's I think it's really interesting that more people don't just start making content, because it really is the way to do it. There's not really a formula. It's like, I don't know, spend $200 on Amazon and get a decent camera and a decent microphone, and like just start going live. So
yeah, you know, Kurt, this is going to sound super vain, you know, but you know, just it was honestly my vanity at that time, wanting to be out on a party that we have in Sacramento every summer with friends on a boat. And so it was like, I went through a long-term relationship, and I became single, and I thought, you know, this year I'm going to look good out there. This is going to be my year, you know? And it was like, that's when I started making, I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And I dedicated myself to it. How do I do this? How do I get rid of that fat, you know, to get to look good on the boat party? Yep. And that was like the whole motivation. And I started doing intermittent fasting. And that was like the key. And I had a viral video shortly thereafter that, just talking about intermittent fasting and human growth hormone and how it works, and all the stuff I was excited about that I was doing, which I still do to this day. I mean, it's literally intermittent fasting is just skipping breakfast and pushing it out as far as you can until you get used to that shorter eating window. And then just tracking what you eat. And I mean, at that time, I'm just tracking my calories, being super strict. And then my walking, and then of course, strength training. I mean, really strict at that time, but eventually it becomes a habit, and it doesn't have to be so rigid. And your body begins to, you know, adapt. You're like, okay, the body begins to get it, you know, after a while, and it becomes just part of your routine. It's like, okay, I do my work, I do my thing. It's a routine after a while. But in the beginning, it's like setting that habit of getting rigid about it, tracking things so that the body gets back into its rhythm to becoming in natural health, you know, in natural harmony. And yeah, I think intermittent fasting for me was the game changer. You know, that really changed everything. So I feel like that's kind of the gateway to health, because it's like, and all it is skipping breakfast, you know, and I was told that breakfast was most important, but it turns out that my body functions better without breakfast. That's just for me. You know, it's better without it. And now it can work either way. Like some people could stop eating early and then not eat dinner. So it really have to depend on the body and how that person's body works. But less feeding, like cows graze on the grass, but humans, they usually go out, and in the past we go out and find food and then we would gorge on it. We would eat.
Right.
And so we didn't have food around all day for snacking. And that was my problem. Just too much snacking, too much, too many guys.
No, I hear you, man. That's, we got super into baking bread and stuff in COVID. And it was like, I put on a lot of weight between 2020 and 2020, like 3. I was like, oh man, this is no good. And I was working out. We had like garage gym. So I was like lifting and stuff, but I was like just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It was like, well, let's bake another loaf of bread. So
yeah, and more in the more recent times. So just a little more of a story on the health stuff. I made incredible progress on health and fitness up until about 2016, 2017, 2018. Then I read a book about, during that time I started doing these liver cleanses. And so I read this book by Andres Moritz, and he's like, oh my gosh, you got to clean out the liver, and it's the secret to health. And so I started doing these liver cleanses. I made like 50 videos about it, and I've done like over 50 liver flushes, like cleaning these stones out of the liver, and it's just been amazing. But one of the things this author said is that meat is bad. Meat makes you look old. And my always thing was like, oh, I don't want to be old. I don't want to be looking like an old man. I just had this bad vision of that. I was a fear of it. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to eat meat. So I started growing all my own vegetables at home, garden, full on like organic garden, cooking everything. It was amazing. I did that for 5 years. So I was a strict vegetarian. We're talking like take the food off the plant, eat it. I wouldn't even cook the vegetables. I was eating the plant raw. And this is just for the vegetarians out there. I would lie to myself and I would say, yum, that's good. Yum, that kale tastes great. That was delicious.
Social engineering yourself.
I'm mentally psyching myself out. That's delicious. No sauce, no salt, just yum. Of course, it was not delicious. So it was after a while, after I started getting super skinny. I was like, man, I wasn't motivated to make videos, and I stopped making videos on YouTube for like a year, because I'm like, I guess it was just partially because of the vegetarian diet. I just was not motivated. I had no meat for years. And so I finally just had this wake up moment. It was last year before the conference in London, on the phone with my friend, and he just convinced me to watch some videos about carnivore, the Joe Rogan podcast with the psychiatrist Jordan Peterson. And I watched that one, and I was like, you know what? I'm sick of where I'm at right now. My health is not where I want it to be. I'm not motivated, and I'm getting too skinny. I was literally like really frail. I would be on the street and guys would say, oh, the vegan guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be known as the vegan guy. It's like, I started shortly after that. I went straight to carnivore that time, which is basically an all meat diet. So it's a complete reverse of being straight vegetarian to now carnivore, which I've been doing for a year now. And I love, and I'm on the habit of doing what's called 1 meal a day, which is intermittent fasting extreme, where it's like I got a 1 meal feeding window, gorging on meat once a day. But it allows me to not track my calories, and I can eat as much as I want and enjoy my life, not have to be rigid about logging every piece of food and exercise. So I like it. It's been, I
love it. I do something similar. I skip breakfast. I usually start my day with 4 or 5 soft-boiled eggs, and then an hour or two later, I'll have another. So I do eat some carbs, but clean carbs, and good times. I think if we don't start talking about Bitcoin, we're going to start to have some crazies. So Jack Bark out there, man. I'm very sorry, Jack. We're doing our best here. We're just throwing out.
We were talking about hair and smashing pumpkins. What about that?
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah, I got the Billy Corgan haircut, and Gavin looks like he could be backup guitar player for the tour band.
I'm Jane's Addiction guy.
There you go. Perry Farrell. Yeah, that's Perry Farrell hair. That's what that haircut is. That's so funny.
Jack Pitts actually told me that. He's like, oh, you're a thing.
That's awesime.
Yeah, the Bitcoin stuff is super important. I do want to talk about something about that. Before I do that, go ahead and if you have any topics you want to discuss. But I mean, I really admire what you're doing with the Bitcoin space, and you're really paving the way, Kurt, on my education and everything you've done. It's been super inspirational, influential. I feel like you're you know, if we were in old times, Kurt's the guy that's like on the front lines. That's that big, huge guy that just, you know, he takes the bullets and he takes the beating and we're all behind him over there like, is it safe? And he's like, I got this. Don't worry about it. We're
Stand
fine.
Behind me, everyone. Yeah.
That's how you've been. Well, especially being the big guy, the gorilla guy that you were. Sure. Now you've leaned down. But in the beginning, that's how it seemed. Now I started peeking my head out.
I'm still about 250 pounds, even though my BMI is down quite a bit. So
yeah, but now I was able to peek my head out. Honestly, I could have come out before I did about Bitcoin stuff, but you know, I felt like, is it going to be safe over there? Was that guy Kurt going to be? Is he going to be, you know, taken out like the Illuminati or something? Might get him. And this guy's really, you know. And then you were okay. You made it, and I thought, okay, it's safe. I'll come out and I'll start talking about this a little bit more and see where we go. And you know, it's like there's something super fundamentally important, I think, that people are missing about the white paper and the concept of Bitcoin, and that is just the very beginning of it. It's supposed to be small casual payments. Whatever happened to that? Where did that ever go? How come no one's ever put that into small? Why didn't we ever do anything with small casual payments? I mean, do you know? Is there, you know, whatever happened to that?
I mean, it started like, that's the thing is, I think culturally, you look at the history of Bitcoin and there was, you know, you had your Silk Road, which I think was such a double-edged sword in that it was the first marketplace where people are like, oh, wow, it's a tool for making payments over the internet. The problem is that the payments over the internet were for like, hey, I'm going to buy some fentanyl, or I'm going to buy like, oh, cool. I can buy automatic weapons and have them shipped in a cargo container. And like, so it turned into this like, wait, is Bitcoin for crime? And then, you know, then that has its whole other thing. You know, you start to get a reputation about one thing or another. And then it turns into a problem, because I've often said that Bitcoin will be what we use it for. And so the longer that you use Bitcoin for any one thing, the more it just gets inertia into being that thing. And so I remember it had to have been 5 years solidly after the Silk Road thing, where if you brought up Bitcoin ever at all, there was a presumption that you were like a drug dealer, right? And so like, oh, hey, Bitcoin's interesting. And it's like, hey, I don't do drugs. I'm not one of those people. And so you had to like turn it like, yeah, but it's cash. Like people buy drugs with cash, but there's all kinds of other things you can do with it. And so I think that became its first hurdle. And then I think there was such a pullback from the culture to be like, well, it's not just for doing drugs on the internet. And then at the same time, this whole investment thesis, the digital gold and all of this stuff, I think that was a very convenient catalyst in the Bitcoin civil war. And then, you know, everybody's heard my whole thesis about MasterCard and CME Group and New York Life and all these, you know, companies that created this whole system to turn Bitcoin purely into a digital gold, an investment asset. Like, hey, we got to sell it to BlackRock. If the lizards buy it, we're all going to be rich forever. And that's what we've yet to break out of that meme. We're starting to see with the ordinals conversation. I think we're starting to wake people up. Fractal Bitcoin just started yesterday, and so there's a bunch of people in the BTC community who missed the whole civil war. They've been in Bitcoin for 3 years, or something. To them, they're just like, I don't know. We heard of Bitcoin Cash, I guess. I don't know what that was about, but hey, is OpCap pretty cool though? Because look at all this cool stuff you can do on Bitcoin, and they don't even realize we had this war 8 years ago too. This is how guys like me got purged out of the Bitcoin community, and so I don't know. It's just been such a crazy journey. Now I know you're friends with Xiaowei. I know the S-Script guys just won a hackathon in the Litecoin community. Because of their skills that they acquired doing experimental stuff in BSV. Is there, what is it like from your side, getting to hang out with these people on a little more of a regular basis, hanging out in person? What's the conversation like about sort of the broader Bitcoin ecosystem and ordinals and that stuff?
Well, in that world, being at those conferences with the BTC Core conferences more recently that I've been with Xiaowei, the only world that exists is that Bitcoin core. And these people, like I said, they actually have never even heard of what happened before the 2018.
Yeah, they don't know. It's been erased.
And so it's more of a younger, generation there. So it's not like a bunch of, these are newer Bitcoin people.
Yep.
And so, yeah, they're just not familiar. So they're doing the best they can with what they know. And a lot of it is like I've made videos about it. OpCat, RBG protocol, which is about these ways to scale Bitcoin and do more transactions and enable more features on that on the protocol. Now, I had a great conference with one of the guys there at the show, which was just about, hey, does layer 1 scale? And he was convinced that it did. And I was like, well, wait a second, how does it scale on this RBG? And he said, well, we take it on to Lightning and then we do it over there and then we come back. And I said, well, okay, so it's not quite layer 1, it's a different layer. Right. So this conversation kept coming up, and apparently, it's some amazing ideas and amazing inventions that could happen. All these are happening, though, is because I think we just don't understand the message, that first part of the white paper. I can't read all the math and the science and the technical stuff on some of the white paper. I still don't get it, but I can read the beginning, small casual payments. I see the significance of that. Now, as a content creator, Kurt, it looks like I'm doing the show. Okay, there we go. So as a content creator, I'll be candid that I have decided not to take ad money. Okay. Now that has been at my detriment, because maybe I could have gotten rich on selling ads. I could have probably made a lot of money selling ads on my content. I don't know how much money, but I'm sure there's definitely some that could have been made. I decided not to take that approach. And so I decided to do it as a labor of love and do it as a long-term vision. Yep. And thinking that one day there'd be a way to monetize content where I don't have to sell myself to advertisers that I don't believe in, and put people through that. That's just been my approach, So now what's different, I think what's unique is that the small casual payments really resonated with me, because now, while I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable saying, hey, all my subscribers, everybody pay me $30 a month or $50 a month to view other content. That's kind of a lot. That's pretty steep. I mean, for most people, I would think. So I would say put 25 cents, 50 cents. I don't think people would have a problem with that at all. I think they would gladly be able to support things that I was doing for those amounts. And so I think that having that element missing from the space for so long has been the missing link. Now, the cliffhanger is that I believe it's about to happen. So I'll back to you, Kurt. And just on your thoughts.
Well, no, I agree. Like, that's the thing. There's billions of dollars in commerce per day that is occurring in the sub-dollar economy. I mean, look at the poorest 4 billion people on Earth live in places that are cash economies, and they're out there doing business. They do business in currency that is all over the place. So I mean, you land in a place like the Philippines or Thailand or Vietnam or half the African continent or half of the South American continent. And they all would benefit from using a frictionless digital cash system, not just for money, but money first, but then also all of these other problems that they have with, their digital identities, and like, hey, we don't have strong record keeping systems in our country, but I'm a doctor and I really like to be able to prove that under pressure, like things like this. And so Bitcoin fundamentally solves just a tremendous amount of economic problems, and we just can't get past these conversations. I see it happening in the troll box right now. People arguing about, like, you're poor. No, you're poorer. No, you're the poorest. And it's like, okay, like we are people that live in one of the richest places in the history of the world. Okay, like, I don't ever starve. I've always got air conditioning in the summer and heat in the winter. And we're belly aching about just the most vain. You said it earlier. I'm going to try to not be vain, and it's like, this is impossible for a human being in the Western Hemisphere to not be vain. It's like, we are streaming in HD from our air conditioned palaces in the first world. Okay, everything we do is vain to most of the people on the planet right now, and so we have just an incredible opportunity to fix these problems with the world, and they would make us richer. If somebody would actually build a business. Now, actually, I should give a shout out. I was supposed to have Justin Pauly on my show last week, but I was sick and I had to tap out. They're building tooling that allows people to do all kinds of business around the world with records management and like solving some of these fundamental problems with bad record keeping. And like I'm they're going to be they're it's slow and steady, but then it's slowly, then suddenly people are going to realize like, holy cow, this is an incredible business model. And then it just takes off once people realize, oh wow, this got 99% cheaper, it got exponentially faster, and the record keeping, the provenance is perfect. Like how do you beat that? And so I think when people get past the tremendous amount of vanity that we have about Bitcoin in this country, that there's no top. There's no top to how much stuff we can fix and how much money there is to be made in fixing these things. It's just crazy. You know what? We got a bunch of audience questions. So we're gonna have Alex Vidal gonna start to post some audience questions here, and we can answer them together. Question from Robin Smith, who I finally met Robin in London. Super nice guy in person, but nearly every time we interact on the internet, Robin likes to ask those questions that just kind of dig at you a little bit. But he's a super nice guy. So Robin, we will not be canceling you here. How can Bitcoin help assure only authentic votes are counted?
Well, let me take that one, Kurt. My actually exposure to the Bitcoin ecosystem, well, the conference in Dubai, the reason I went out there, of course, I wanted to learn about Bitcoin and feel everything, but I actually went out there to meet with Owen Vaughn from N-Chain and his legal team about this exact problem. Because I was working at that time with a congressman, and we were trying to find a way to make votes count. And this is actually in Arizona. And we were trying to find a way to make votes count. And I had some other political people on the team that were working with me to try to like find this way, because not only do they want to change the laws, but they're like, we need a better way. And I was like, let's look at, this, because we actually met with a guy called Stephen February, which I had on a 7 February, which I had on a live stream not too long ago. And he was so super instrumental in explaining this exact problem and how it could work and putting all the votes on blockchain. So Stephen February would be the technical guy to answer that question. But
he's great.
I actually had some amazing meetings at that time with him and the political people and like we were it was like, this is a great idea, except we're all way too early. It was just like, we're too early. So we're just not ready for that yet. But so I don't know where it's at now, but yeah, I mean, the technical wise, Kurt, could it be done?
Yeah, absolutely. The tech is there. It's just like everything else. It's, how do you get wallets into the hands of every eligible voter, right? Like that's the actual logistical problem. So, but the tech, I mean, yeah, if you just wanted to cast votes, that's super simple. So with ordinal technology, like essentially everybody's digital identity could be turned into an inscription. You sign with your private keys, you broadcast your vote. Your vote has a public attestation with a hash, and like, boom, you can automatically tally. It's pretty straightforward actually, but it's implementation. And then ultimately once it's implemented, then it's okay, well, there are a few million people over the age of 70 who need to use the technology. So how do we compensate for them? And then, it's just, so it turns into, this kind of thing. My old adage is that my grandma still writes physical checks at the grocery store. And because she doesn't trust debit cards and credit cards, she thinks those are newfangled technology, and she doesn't trust that they will work. And so it's generational stuff, and I'm sure at a certain point, I'm going to be that guy too. My kids and grandkids are going to be, oh man, can you believe, Kurt used to work in tech and now he's this bumbling fool. So it's, it just kind of is what it is. But yes, these kind of things can be solved. And it's not the tech. It's the logistics around them. Mr. Vidal, let's bring up more questions. Oh, what's the special announcement?
So-
You said you had an announcement. Do you want to save it or you want to go for it?
We got 20 minutes. Okay. So listen, let me just tell the story about a little bit about that. We can go into it. So here, okay. So I have never supported or been involved in like a specific project in the Bitcoin space. I've always been neutral and independent. I like I said, I have a lot of friends in the space, but I've never been, like fully behind anything. Like I believe in these, but I'm not like, I don't work for any of these other companies. So with that, I've like literally talked to so many people and evaluated all sorts of companies and in this space. But I realized that there was a problem as a content creator. Now, as a content creator, like I said earlier, I'm not able to get paid for the content unless I submit to the ads. I decided not to go into the ads. Is my,
yeah, you keep freezing, man. It's time to
hold on. Let's see.
We'll bring you back. Still frozen.
Still frozen. Okay, hold on. Let me just see why I use this new browser for this thing. So let's see if I can add my.
We'll be right back. We are indeed opposites. Opposite hair. Come on, Gavin. You can do it. I'm rooting for you. This isn't the announcement, by the way. It's Gavin announcing departure forever. Good luck, everyone. Oh, come on. Come back, Gavin. We need you. This is the ultimate cliffhanger here. All right. Do I do a light pivot? So, okay, let's take a minute. I don't think we're ready for the comment of the day, but maybe Mr. Vidal, if we could do the meme of the day and let Gavin work on his camera, I think that might be a good thing. So, meme of the day, if you're ready to go, let's do it.
And now it's time for the meme of the week.
Sick ride. What do you do for a living?
I'm a tech founder.
Oh, tech? That's awesome.
I'm building a Web3 product that's revolutionizing the blockchain space with a
Cool.
new layer 2 technology that's scalable using AI.
Okay, very nice.
And
Nice
actually,
meeting
right
you.
now with our community, we're settling tokens. When you buy your token,
Okay. That was
essentially
cool.
you're joining our decentralized
Yeah, okay.
community of individuals.
Yo,
and
okay, I get it.
I'm not finished.
Oh, good Lord.
All right, I'm back.
Hey, we're back.
I just went out for coffee. Thanks for the nice little ad there.
Yeah, no worries, man. You're
Great.
looking
I had to
good.
grab a cup of coffee. It was so rude of me for not telling you, but I had a coffee.
No
break,
worries.
so thanks. Yeah. So here's what happened. I literally am looking at all these companies, and I'm realizing this problem I'm having as a content creator, not getting paid, and I'm finding out that there's got to be a better way. So there's been a perfect storm coming in the background. What I'm seeing in the way of like this small casual payments. One is, well, the problem is people are unable to seamlessly onboard. So I'll go back to a story in 2022 when I went to Dubai. Shout out to Alex Moon, because it was Alex Moon that stopped me at the Dubai conference in the floor. And he says, I want you to meet someone. And I'm like, okay, who is it? He's like, first of all, let me tell you why this guy's important. I'm like, okay, what is it? He's like, this company is what they're going to build is going to allow people to use the Bitcoin network without knowing they're using the Bitcoin network. They're just going to use it for small casual payments and use it in fiat. I'm like, how is that possible? That was then. They were still in development. It's still been in the development phase for a long time. But that, to me, it turned a light bulb on. And so I stayed in contact with that guy. After that, I met him and we stayed in contact, followed everything he was doing. He's been like really outspoken on X. But he's not really very well known. He's not really well known. So his name's Daniel Street, I'll be honest, people who know who he is. And so, I stayed in contact with him, and he was like, he showed me the light. Okay. Him and his brother, name's Jeremy. They really showed me like, look, it's small casual payments that people are missing. And it's the content creator connection, because it's not about like all these institutes. It's like, okay, the kickstart to the revolution of Bitcoin and everybody using the network is the small casual payments, peer-to-peer, content creator to fan. It's so clear. But the problem is, if the fan has to go out and learn how to use Bitcoin, that's like, that's only going to be a small amount of people. Most people won't be able to figure that out. But if we can make it seamless where the fan just says, I'm going to log in and buy with fiat, great. Have a great time. I'm going to spend 25 cents, for example. Well, I wouldn't have a problem spending 25 cents on one of my favorite pieces of content at all. But when it comes to large amounts, I'm definitely going to second guess it. So I believe that the perfect storm is now basically about to happen, which is the content creator plugin, okay, with small casual payments, and where the fiat conversion is going to happen in the background. There's going to be there's things that are happening with hand cash that I'm aware of right now that are going to allow it much easier to log in with one click. And then there's what's called payment rails, which nobody's talked about, but payment rails are super important. I used to be in the merchant card industry. And when you don't have proper payment rails, then you're going through all these other third parties, and it just makes it super hard for a person to come in and start. And so all that's being put together right now. It literally is all coming together. And then the other big announcement, okay, well, is the stable coin. People are all missing this. There's a stable coin that just was announced, and it's done legally. It's called money, and they launched on ERC20. Well, think about it. When they launched on Ethereum, why did they do that? Well, it's like they're launching because they could show they're regulatory compliant and they are legal and they're able to operate. But now what's happening next is they're going to launch on Bitcoin. Then Bitcoin's going to have its first true stable coin for peer-to-peer transactions, which is going to come down the road at some point in the near future. This connection allows the content creator community to then have a fiat conversion and then the withdrawal and payment rails. And so my announcement is that after looking at all these different companies, I think that the stuff that Daniel Street and Jeremy Street have done is absolutely, it's absolutely what I would call, I think there's a little meme that he has in the background. It's like change. He's like change, do something impossible. It's like literally solve the impossible, which is this peer-to-peer casual payments transactions. And I think that's the problem. I believe that's the problem they've solved. So I decided to invest in the company, and awesome. I'm supporting those guys. I'm supporting the company, and I pulled the trigger with them. That literally just happened. They're somebody it's somebody that I really believe and stand behind, what they're doing. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, that's it. I'll leave the plugins for people to kind of do their own research on what that means. But it is, I think it's huge.
Beautiful. No, Daniel's a really good guy too. I've gotten to communicate with him a number of times about a lot of things. He's got a lot of big ideas, and he's motivated, which is key. There's a lot of idea people in Bitcoin. There's not a ton of motivated people in Bitcoin. So it's good stuff. All right, we got a lot of questions to bang through, and we have exactly 11 minutes left in the show, so we should probably do them. Gavin trying to outdress Kurt because he wants a time slot on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. There you go. This is that I remember that conspiracy theory when I had my surgery in January. Yeah, it was January. Everyone's like, "All right, here's what's gonna happen. Like, they're gonna pivot Kurt out. They're gonna install Gavin."
That's right. I remember hearing that.
So, from Austin Brady, another music industry icon. Hey, Kurt, Gavin in chat. Gavin and me must go head to head for best hair in BSV. Right now, I think he has me beat, but only by a hair.
Yeah.
Let's keep them coming. Give me steak or give me death. Yes, sir, Mort.
Steak,
that's
baby.
Steak for every meal, basically. Steak and eggs. Yeah. I eat a lot of steak and eggs.
But as you're going, is Gavin going to interview Calvin Ayre? Not that I'm, I was actually communicating with Calvin back and forth, and literally he's like, yeah, ready to do it. Let's do it. Okay. And then it was like, just set it up with my assistant. And I'm like, okay. The assistant was like, oh, wait. And then it was like, oh, sorry. Legal reasons, we're not doing it, So it wasn't that he didn't want to. He was like full on. Yes. There's other reasons that are unknown to me that he wasn't able to do it.
No, for sure. Any new information on the appeal? I don't think the last I heard was a few weeks ago. Craig had filed his appeal request, but I don't know.
That's all we know.
I don't think there's been any news since,
all is speculation right now on the appeal, on whether or not, he has an attorney. We can believe. We don't know. None of that's been verified. So we just know that he filed the appeal.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yep. Slow and steady wins the race. Absolutely, Mohammed. Next one. Hello, Kurt and Gavin. Greetings from Helsinki. Both of you are a great inspiration. Thank you, Kendra. Appreciate it very much.
Quick plug. Friday, Kurt's going to be on the show. We're going to do an X Space. Everybody join in on Friday. That's 11 Eastern. I'll have Kurt back on. We're going to talk all about basically millions of transactions on Bitcoin. We're going to talk all about how Bitcoin's second coming. And so this is going to be a big space, Bitcoin being a digital commodity and going into all that. So Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, be there.
Yep. We need to get up. Mr. Ashish Singh has a question up there that we need to put up there too. I'll take this one. The zeitgeist is that we need anonymity. We know this is nonsense, but it is the zeitgeist. I think there's a lot of privacy and anonymity get talked about a lot. Bitcoin is fundamentally private. The problem is a behavioral one. It's similar to the voting thing. If you can only get your Bitcoin from Coinbase and Coinbase takes your KYC and then they're tracking your public keys, and then you've got, what are the Chainalysis and some of these companies out there, 98% of all Bitcoins are doxed and everybody knows who you are. And so then it becomes not private, which then makes you make decisions like Monero and Zcash and some of these Pirate Chain and these things that are anonymizing, but then anonymizing your coins makes them less useful in a lot of ways too. So, I don't know if there's a question in there, but there is a fine line to cut because I'm a privacy advocate. I'm a big critic of the government. I don't trust the state, the Fed. I don't trust all kinds of tangential organizations to the government. I think they will abuse your privacy as much as you let them. But you need to fix the problem in ways that are actually useful too. So it's that's a difficult one to solve, and lots of people have been trying to solve it for a really long time. But we're doing our best here. So let's bring up another question. Here's Ashish. Okay, I'm going to answer this one because so George Gilder met Stuart Haber and Scott Stornetta and Craig Wright. What insights or perspectives do you think they might have shared? I've tweeted about it. So I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but when I was at, I think it was CoinGeek Conference New York. I don't remember what year it was. It was 2 or 3 years ago. It was during the pandemic because I remember everybody had to be masked and it was a whole thing. But I was in the green room because I was going to be on stage, and I was back there with Haber and Stornetta and Craig. And it was just the three of them. And they were just sitting at the table and having a conversation. I'm doing my best to politely not eavesdrop, but it was really fascinating. I'm getting powdered up and stuff. It was, a little bit busy anyways, but they were having a very interesting conversation about history of Bitcoin and some of the prehistory of Bitcoin stuff. And it was, they were chummy, to say the least. It was really interesting to see their feedback. I also met George Gilder separately, not in that same room, but I met George backstage and had a 5-minute conversation with him too. He's also super cool guy, super sharp, and but we were not directly talking about any juicy Satoshi stuff. But one
of the George Gilder things I think it's important is Brett's talked about the small world network concept, and also this awakening to the public blockchain. Okay, is something that I think people are missing. The awakening, these large entities are looking at the public, looking for a public blockchain to be legal, to be compliant, to work within their framework. And at the end of the day, how many really options do they have that are not securities, that are not huge liabilities of risks? And I have a hard time finding too many, other than one. So I can only find one.
Same.
And I really have been subjective and being like, you know what? If there's one, I want to find out. I want to see all the options. I think it's silly for me to put my head in the sand and say, oh, I know everything. No, I don't know everything. I'm always open to learning more and seeing there's a better way. But from everything I've seen, from the only single way to have a public blockchain for these companies to work on is on the BSV blockchain.
Yep.
You know, the original Bitcoin protocol. So it's something huge. And then adding the small, and then kickstarting everything with small casual payments, creator to fan, seamlessly, without any sort of logging in, without knowing they're using the blockchain. I'm telling you, that's going to be it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen fast. So my vote is for comment is okay. That's
no, I like it. Let's keep banging through. We got a few more of these questions. If each transaction is a vote and a vote happens over a 24-hour period, what transaction capacity do you need? It's a good question. I'd be willing to bet in the US we've got 150 million eligible voters, something like that. I don't know. Somebody do the math for me. I'm not doing napkin math live on the air. I'm going to look like a fool.
That's Alex Favell. So definitely Alex is going to be, I invited him for Friday. So Alex will be speaking on Friday as well on the stage. We're going to go into this in more detail with these topics.
Nice. All right, cool. Wu Tao, wide adoption through small casual payments for content creation. Yes, sir. Yep. Actually, I saw a comment go by from, I think it was John who won the card comment of the week. So if we have yet to pick a comment of the week, we will get there. If you have not claimed your comment of the week prize from Champions TCG, you need to reach out to Alex Vidal. He is at Costly Signals on X. So go to x.com, find the account Costly Signals, send him a DM. He will walk you through how to receive your cards from the Champions TCG team, and we'll announce a winner in about a minute here. Let's take a few more questions, and we'll read them in a private chat. All right, cool. Which protocol will be used to tokenize small casual fiat payments? I think everything is going to be ordinals based. It is the simplest version of a token protocol, and then you can program anything else atop it. So I don't have any, overt criticisms of doing things like tokenized and STAs, and they do specific things really well. But one set ordinals is designed to be very, very simple, so that like a one set ordinal can also be a STAS token, for example. That's how low level the token protocol is that you can have a STAS ordinal, and that's very powerful.
And that's one way. I think it's even going to be simpler from what I understand it, that Handcash has simple ways to, and I've seen this through a payment method where they split up payments with people where on a site where I wanted to buy a piece of music, and then like 8 people split up a penny on one payment, all through Handcash. So I think it's going to be much simpler than we realize. And there will be smart contract aspects as well, which will be for the payouts. Because let's say you refer somebody to the platform, then they're going to be able to be paid automatically through smart contracts. And the real revolution is the instant payments. That's the big revolution. Because if I can get paid now, I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to get paid today. I don't want to wait a month.
Oh, get paid in 2 seconds. I mean, that's incredible.
That's
exactly what a feedback loop. Yeah.
That's, I think, the big, huge turn on for the Bitcoin ecosystem is to get paid now, and that's what's going to explode this whole industry. And I'm telling you, this is going to be the show. I'm making the announcement. I'm making the call. So you're seeing this. You're seeing it at the right time. I have a Spotify channel that no one looks at, but you can. I've recorded a couple audios on there that I go into more detail about this on the private side, so you can find it there. Otherwise, my YouTube channel, Gavin Mehl. Follow that and follow on X as well, Gavin Mehl, and look for us on Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern. We're going to do a show. We'll go into more detail. So, all right, I don't want to hog up all your time, Kurt, but go ahead.
No, it's cool. Let's take the comment of the day real quick, and then we'll come back. We'll say our goodbyes, and then we'll cut out here. So. Beautiful. Austin Brady. Yes. Best hair, the best hair competitor, Austin. Austin's a good friend and a longtime ally. So Austin, please reach out to Costly Signals. That's Alex Vidal's account. Send him your Handcash handle, and you will receive the Champions TCG deck for free, courtesy of the Champions team, who have been so kind to sponsor the show. So Gavin,
one more plug.
I'll give you the final word, man. How do you want to close? Let's go.
A true icon in the industry, a hero of mine. I think a lot of other people is going to be on my show on Sunday. Ian Grigg. All right, so be on the lookout for that. This guy is like, unknown to me, but I met him in London, and he was inside that book, this book right here. If anybody hasn't already read it, Hero Villain, that's a little plug for the Mark Elgin book. Go out and read this book. He talks all about Egan Gregg in there and the history, and it's just fascinating stuff, So look for that. Look for the the X Space on Friday, and I'm putting out daily content on my YouTube channel, and I'm on a mission right now. So just follow and subscribe. That's all I ask for. It costs you nothing.
Absolutely. No, you're killing it out there, Gavin. I love your energy. I love really anyone that will just get out there and produce. So more power to you. You're an inspiration to me. And I'm grateful for you being on the show, man. It's good to finally have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And like I always say at the end, my hero and famous mentor, Zig Ziglar, would always say, I'll see you at the top.
Love it. All right. See you Friday.
See you up.
All right, everybody. So we are, do we have any other questions? Should we do any more? Are there one-on-one questions that would be good for me, Mr. Vidal? Or, I'm getting a little feedback about my black eye. I am fine. It's actually, I'm glad it's not crazier looking. It's always one of those things where, oh man, how long is that going to look like trash? And I think it looks okay. No, I love this. Fractal sidechains and layer 2s aren't the solution for scaling and adoption. Well, they also just, there's so many reasons why they are a bad idea. Like they fundamentally are predatory on Bitcoin. They take transaction fees away from the infrastructure of the network. Like the fact that anybody likes second layer stuff as a as a primary way to scale Bitcoin, it's insane. It is a bad thing. Next one, or maybe we'll wrap it up. All right, let's wrap. Okay, I'm done. It's 3:02, which means I'm already 2 minutes late anyways, everybody. So, hey, thank you, everybody, for watching the show. I really appreciate it. You give me something to do every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the trolls, thank you for the extra engagement. The more comments we get, the more the algorithm thinks I'm handsome and happy and all the other things. So, no, really, just the fact that you guys are all commenting here in the troll box really helps. Yeah, please send Andy a fruit basket, man. Dude is not doing well. He's flexing hard, and why? So everybody, be good to each other. Go out there, do something good for the world. Go take care of each other. Take your vitamin C and D and the rest of it. Go get a little bit of exercise, because man, it's not fun being sick. But I think I'm back. I should be back just fine. And we'll be talking to you next week. So everybody, thanks again. See you next week. Bye-bye.